Hi, and welcome to Together, the podcast where we teach and guide you into the art and the practice of sacred relationship so that you and your partner can experience that sweet, juicy, close connection. Today's episode, how your day-to-day is chipping away your connection. We're going to go on this journey from feeling taken for granted to tackling life together. We're going to really make sure that we hit these three topics of talking about the mess, taking the initiative, and appreciation as a practice. And you're going to want to make sure that you stay till the end because we are going to give you exactly how we have made this work in our life, this area. And this topic it can be a crunchy one. It can be an uncomfortable one. It can be an exciting one. It's this terrain of how to be in life, in the day-to-day well. And getting to know the places that maybe don't work or just chipping away at that energy and the excitement or the wanting to be in the relationship. I'd say in the beginning when we start dating our partners, it's easy. All the hormones are rushing and there's the excitement of planning dates. And then there becomes the point where we move in together and we merge lives and all the patterns that we've gained from how we grew up, and some of them are great and some of them are a bit annoying and frustrating. And as time goes on, what I've seen when Courtney and I are supporting couples is this can be one of these little places that, if unexplored, can chip away at the love, can chip away at the intimacy, can chip away at the sweetness. It's how to be in life together, being two completely different humans with different ways of being and different priorities, and how to weave this all together so that in the day-to-day doings, it isn't messier than it has to be.
Yeah, we're talking about the practical world, the practical running of the day, the practical micro moments. And it's so interesting for me to be diving into this topic because we were laughing as we were planning it. At first he was like, yeah, let's talk about like people like doing their chores and like getting the practical things done in the day. And I sat there for a while and I was like, what would I talk about? Because Mike and I have such different inner worlds as to how we experience the day to day, and what we perceive is the functioning of the day to day. I tend to be more the mystical, emotional one. So I'm very attuned to like the aesthetics of beauty.
And
Emotions.
Thank you for prioritizing that.
Yes, emotions, tending the relational field. I'm very connected to energy. So like what's happening in my inner world and what's moving on the ancestral plane and what am I feeling in my mystical heart and what are the downloads today? And so but it's funny because when I think of what Mike brought into my life, because right before I met Mike, I was realizing I was needing to learn to become more structured, because what I wanted to accomplish in my life, I actually can't accomplish without structure. It was like really clear. I actually remember Yogananda visited me energetically. I was meditating and he visited me and he said, discipline. You need to learn discipline. And it wasn't that I wasn't a person that would accomplish things, but I would move in this kind of like flowy, by the moment way, right? And things would happen, but it wasn't necessarily predictable or organized, and I could move like that. But then I come into relationship, and now I come into relationship with someone who's very structured and very, let's come up with systems. And the only reason I was able to have buy-in is because I was like, I need to learn about this. And what I have learned is it's almost impossible to live the day-to-day life without clarity and structures that both of us are clear on for us to show up in.
Yeah, we can live it, but we may not thrive in it if we don't explore these places, because then it can be just this unconscious fumbling and these stacked up frustrations, and it just doesn't feel as good if we don't actually get to know how to be in the day-to-day well.
Yes.
How do we actually weave these different ways of being together in the most efficient way? Like one of my deepest passions is efficiency, energy efficiency. This is why I like structure. And
I like to advocate for the soulfulness in the moment too.
And thank God, because if you didn't do that and I just kept living my life as Mike before meeting you, structure would strangle me. It'd be too rigid. It can become controlling. It can squeeze the juice out of life. And
Sometimes I can feel it. I'm like, oh no, Mike's structure's starting to squeeze us. Oh my God, Courtney, we got to do a ritual. Hurry.
Yeah. Thank God. Thank God for that. When I look at how much I love efficiency and structure and strategies and practicality, I really needed the opposite end of the spectrum. And, I love the beauty you bring in the home and the song and the prayer and the beauty and the reminder of it's all good. It's fine. We're great. Let's not worry about that. Let's be in the moment. Because too much structure does squeeze the juice out of life. It really does. And so
some of you listening, this might just be like a little seed planting of, are you in a relationship where there's so much structure that there's not the magic and the juice? Like you're not feeding the juice and the magic in the day-to-day? Or sometimes you can have lots of structure, but you're not actually really creating the structure in support of where you're wanting to go. Like, who do we want to really be? That's going to feel really good. We're just doing the structure because we think that's the structure. Or there might be those of you out there, I know this is so many of the clients I work with, they've never really fully talked about it. And by that, I mean, they might be like, yeah, you usually do the dishes and I usually do this, but really getting into the juice of like, how do we structure our days? What's the rhythm of our days? Who's doing what, who's holding what, but like to serve the thriving, to serve the juice, right? Because the structure can serve the juiciness. And that's where I keep being able to allow your structure, because I'm like, oh, wait a minute. As I allow it, okay, there's these ways that my juicy, flowy self, it gets to express more. And then that's why I'm open to it.
And it's so sexy when you do soften into the structure and let yourself be held by it. Because what I've noticed is a juicier, softer quality does come from it. And I love that. And I think another piece here too is a lot of couples will just fall into the conditioning that was modeled growing up. And so we can find ourselves in a relationship and there are roles playing out and they may not always be chosen. It's just happening because that is what's in the nervous system. And it's really important to be having this conversation because we don't want to just replay out the impacts of the patriarch or, the disconnection that was maybe in the home growing up. We want to actually weave in an intimacy and an allyship so that there can be more enjoyment in the day-to-day. Because let's be real, sometimes life can be a lot and it can be stressful. So having to do the day-to-day, like mundane tasks that no one's going to do for us. It's so important to find a way where it feels really good on both sides.
I had an example yesterday where I was so glad that we decide on who's doing tasks more based on who really wants to do the task and who, because I was outside putting the Christmas lights up and you were inside in the kitchen and you looked relieved that the kitchen was getting cleaned and like super pumped about it. And I was like, we've got to get magic on the house. Like, this has got to happen. This is my priority. And I was like, yeah, this I think is the other thing, is attuning to like who feels lit up by something and who, getting outside of the box of how we think we're supposed to divide stuff up or what it's supposed to look like. You did, and then you came out and you helped me with the Christmas lights too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to change depending on the season and whatever it is that's happening.
Mhm.
I think it's important too to split it up and share the tasks, because there can be places like, oh, I love this task, but then it's like, oh, partner might like it too. Like, hand
Mhm.
that over.
Well, and also sometimes it's like just legitimately what we feel like, I can't handle this not getting done. Right? But one of the things that, feels so important about like talking about the mess is like we have to actually talk about it. One of the things that I notice in our relationship that is a muscle we have stretched over time is learning to talk on an ongoing basis about the structure of the day, about the structure of what's happening, and that being an ongoing conversation throughout the day, that we're doing check-ins, and then also the other one is like letting each other know when something doesn't feel good, you know, and and really talking about, hey, like I'm feeling like I'm holding too much today, or hey, or like, oh, yesterday, right, where technically it was my responsibility to do the soup, right, and it was like my piece, and you were getting your own time. And then I was like, oh no, there's no curry powder. I'm halfway through the soup. Okay, I'm going to get our toddler in the car who won't put clothes on, go to the grocery store, but it's not quite bedtime, so it's too early, and then he'll fall asleep. And there was this moment where I was like, Courtney, you just got to do it. This is your responsibility. And then instead I came down and said, please help me.
Yeah,
Yeah. But that,
real life moments, and we're going to talk about those places and get curious. And what I really appreciate about us is we've cultivated, and again, stay till the end because we'll give you like how we've made this all work. But I'd say we really figured out a flow in a way where we address these places when it's not a thing. Like, we actually have built out the framework of how to function our life so that when the spontaneous life moments happen, we can work with it really quickly.
mhm.
Because I had to go inside and myself and be like, oh my God, I've watched Cedar all day. This is my one little window of self-care time. There's that one part of me that wants to stay attached to the structure. And inside, I had to take a breath and really feel into, okay, we're hosting guests this week. We have this big event happening. Like, what's in highest service to the family here? I'm like, well, realistically, it'll take me half an hour, 45 minutes for the whole thing. Oh, but it'll create so much relief for you.
We won't be up at 4 a.m.
We
when our
won't be up.
toddler
Yeah.
goes
I'm
to
like,
sleep too early and wakes up at 4 a.m.
yeah. And then when I felt into all those layers, I'm like, yeah, well, this is the easy decision to surrender and let go of the structure of here's my self-care time and mobilize and get creative. And what was cool about that is like hopping in the vehicle. I'm like, oh, how can I leverage, I call this net time, no extra time. So it's like I'm choosing to do this thing, but how can I satisfy some of the self-care in the task that I'm doing? So I put on one of my audiobooks that I'm really enjoying and wanting to absorb anyways, and then able to do that on the commute. And then both of our needs get met. The need of the family gets met. And so what I'd love to ask you, when we're talking about the mess, what would you say is one of the messiest places in relationship to me in our dynamic?
The messiest. What do you mean by the mess?
Well, just when you say, this first point of talking about the mess. So when in the day-to-day practical doings, what
Oh,
would
yeah.
you say is one of the messiest or the crunchiest places being with me, Mike, and my unique journey and all the,
Well, there's two
quirks
things.
that I come with?
One is one of the quirks that you have is that I will text you about something. I'll talk about it with you several times, weeks, months ahead. I'll check in. Are you sure how you feel? I text you. I will do all the things. And then when the time comes and the thing happens, you look completely surprised. Typically you set some sort of boundary, like, when these kinds of things are happening, you have to talk to me about it first, and you have to text me, and you tell me all the things, and I'm like, I did, yeah. And maybe sometimes I forget, but it's become part of my protocol is this is my perception. And it's been just learning over time that you have a hard time planning ahead. That if it's planning, it's like literally, it's not until right before something that you become aware of what about that thing doesn't feel good or what you're needing. But if I ask you any time before that, it's all good. Yep. Sounds good. And then like right before the thing, you'll be like, who didn't consult me? How is this happening? And then it's just been like this, like, oh God, okay. And just learning over time, like and it creates mess because it's like the structure of the day to day, right? But I'm really glad I've built tone around this because I think old Courtney probably would have been like, oh, like I won't plan anything or, oh, like this kind of thing. And instead I'm like, I'm going to still plan stuff. I'm still moving things forward. And then we're just going to keep bumping into this crunchy place and like finding our way, basically. Yeah.
In the beginning, when it first started showing up and you were getting to know that part of me, like what was the initial feeling or experience or some inner stories about it that you had?
Well, first of all, I felt it was totally unjust that I had done all those things. And then you were every time 1,000% convinced that I hadn't consulted you, and you were convinced that I had done blasphemy, like I had betrayed you and I wasn't, and it felt so unfair and unjust. Like, and so I would get caught up in that, like wanting to fight about it, and then really starting to learn, oh, this is just the pattern. Like this is and then it was like starting to be like, oh, Courtney, this is something that's happening for Mike. Like he doesn't remember. It's kind of, how we joke how we have different, it's like, there's like far out Mike, who's like all thumbs up. And then there's like the day before Mike, who's like, everything must stop. It's all wrong.
Totally.
There weren't enough systems in place. We need more systems for this kind of thing. Yeah. And like learning, like, okay, which Mike am I relating with here? And I'm trying, and it was like, just like getting to know that. But I also felt a little bit like, there's an ongoing feeling of not being seen because I think in that moment you can't fully see me. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important. This is why we want to talk about the mess, because that is a real thing that I can own and acknowledge when it comes to certain places. When it comes to my mission, when it comes to my work, I seem to plan out far ahead well.
Sometimes in our together stuff, it gets messy though.
Sometimes, yeah.
But that's more because we have different pieces. So it's that same kind of thing where I come to you and, right?
Yeah, when it's me navigating my own future, I'm good. But in the relationship,
the co-creation,
in the co-creating, in the relating with another person, and this is why it's so important to talk about the mess, because that is real, and there would be a place that could create contempt and resentment over time if we didn't get to the root of what's happening there and how to manage it. Because the background on that, like for me, being in life with me means there's symptoms and qualities and quirks because of the lived life that I've had. And this is true for all of us. You listening, every one of you has had a unique journey and have grown up in unique environments, which means there's going to be places where you either have limitations, you've got weak points that you're maybe being invited to strengthen. In this terrain, when you go back far enough, it makes so much sense. I was adopted twice in the first year of my life. Transitions are difficult, creates a lot of distress in my nervous system, places where I've probably dissociated. And then when I look at my life growing up, there wasn't a lot of modeling, talking about the future, having dreams and visions and how to work together, and everyone's included. And so there just has been, and this is, what we arrived to, is I have a deficit there. So that doesn't just mean I get off the hook. It doesn't mean that, that's great, Courtney's going to plan everything. What it's really meant is from the conversation of the mess and knowing the impact on you, it's like, we got to figure something out. And then with time, what that's translated to is, there's something about it needing to be visual. Like I need to be able to look at it. So one of the requests that I've made for you is shoot me a text And we have certain files and folders, like we have a business folder, like don't put it in the personal text if it's about work. We've had to create a lot of structures to set the situation up as best as possible for there to be movement and for there to be an evolution, like a maturing in this deficit that I've had.
And even coming up with the plan of like, I have to actually sit down with you and look at the calendar with you and like point it out on the calendar. And
yeah, which even just that being said feels embarrassing. And this is what being in life with another human being is all about. There's places where there are going to be limitations or places, deficits. And it doesn't mean that it can't change, but it means we do have to approach it in a way to develop, that strength there. Mm-hmm. And what I've noticed now over time is it's more easeful to plan future things. Like it's your birthday this week and your gift is created. And, in the past, I wouldn't even have the capacity to plan those things.
I know you're growing a lot in it. And I would say this is where my capacity to soften and love in it has been important, because I can also see how if I got harsh and mean about it, it could actually push you further into that. Right? Like this happens in relationship. You could start to have so much distress about it because I'm so angry about it that then you can't grow in it. Right?
Which is such an important piece, because really in these sticky places, the reason we want to talk about the mess is we need to get to the root of where did this pattern come from and start to make sense of it so that can be taken, that can be acknowledged.
So what's mine?
I would say, I'm trying to think of how to communicate it. I would say,
I just rolled my eyes because I'm like, oh, right, you can't say it in a nice way.
No, I can say it in a nice way. I'm just, there's two places here that kind of tie into one.
Okay.
I'd say my experience of you is so mystical and in the energetic realm. Like one of the statements that stand out for me here is when we first got together, you're like, I could live in the void. I just love hanging out in the void, which is amazing. And I'm grateful. And the part that I'd say and how this can then express like the messy place would be around noticing the practical day-to-day things, like keeping things, tended well. Like as an example, headphone, they get used really well and then the ends of them fray and break, and just things, there's a lot of breaking, things being broken down really quickly. Whereas if you look at my stuff, I'm like, keep things treated well and wrap the cord up nicely, but maybe not as practical in that way. And then, the juicy one is the kitchen and the dishes, this fun little quirk of, how I would speak to it is you're so in the flow of creation, but not in the logical thinking of when in the creation process that things have a place to go back to. So it's like, it makes me think yesterday when you were like in the kitchen cooking, it's like, I'll go and I'll spend over an hour cleaning the kitchen, then I walk in and I'm like, oh my God, Courtney's definitely creating, because there's just like lids off, things over here. I go in the back room and there's a box of spices on the freezer, so you can't get in the freezer, and everything's just like, oh, I need this. And then it just stays wherever. When you're done relating with it, it's just there. Would be the one.
Oh man. Yeah, my dad used to always be like, why are all the cupboards open? He's like, I just keep hitting my head on cupboards because I'd walk in the kitchen and all the cupboards are open. We don't have cupboards in our house.
Thank God.
That's why that's not happening.
Oh, yeah. My head has been saved with no cupboards.
Yeah. And, yeah. I mean, I am a person that I will put things back together, but it's like, yeah.
At some point.
And also I'm definitely a person, and it's something I've had to learn to love about myself. I have a clumsiness. Like I have a and like a bit of a oh, I don't know. Like I think I'll do this. And then you're like, Courtney, that corroded the bath drain. Or like, wait, did you read the package before you did that? No, I just felt through it and I just thought I'd try. And then what did you see? You were so sweet the other day. You were like, I really love how you just trust and you just go for things.
Oh, when you made the cookies and just
Right.
replaced one of the ingredients as like the main glue to it. Yeah. And this is why it's so important to talk to those places, because then I was like, oh yeah, you know what is the thing that I love about this? Oh yeah, you just like go for it. A lot of people get stuck in their life because they won't just try things. That is not a problem you have. You'll just like, I don't know, I'll try this. Maybe that'll work. And I love that. I love that.
And the other thing that I would say is, some of our childcare people have said this. I actually create, like, lots of people will cook basic things, whereas I'll create really like dynamic things, right? While having a toddler. And so then it like the kitchen also looks dynamic.
Which is the essence of any good artist.
Yeah.
This is what's so important about it is, when I think of just, some of the greats, they talk about the process being just creating in masses, and then every once in a while, like a home run piece of art gets created, and we don't know if we just aren't in the practice of creating. And I'd say you are an artist.
Yeah. And I'll always prioritize like going to build that altar instead of doing the dishes, but I'll still do the dishes, but I'm not going to like take out things like that to do the dishes, Yeah. Yeah. But what I would say is I have lots of moments, because I know how much it matters to you, that I choose to do the dishes because I know that it would matter to you. Like for me, maybe I would wait and I like in an hour do it, but I'm like, no, I'm going to do it right now. Or I am going to put all the things back right now,
Yeah. And it's important to talk about these places because some of the places can change and will change, and we can create systems to help them change. And some of the places need to change. And then there's other places where it might be just learning to love that thing about your partner that may never change, or maybe sometimes it happens, but not expecting it to if it's a deficit or a limitation. And that's really important to name, because some people's personalities, the gifts that they have means like the gift of it means there is a lacking of another thing that might be really enjoyable, but the whole reason there's the gift, like when we think of creativity, it's like that expression of flow and just going for it. It comes from somewhere. But if you're also like, if there was an expectation, let's say, of like you being super structured, it's like it would probably take away the gift that you have of the free flowing piece.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be like, I feel like, Mike, like, what would it be like for you if I was like, Mike, I want you to let go of all structures, and we're going to do something different every single time.
I would flatline.
Actually, we're going to find the slowest way to do something.
I think I'm flatlining right now.
And let's see how much of a mess we can make.
Sounds like my nightmare.
Let's try. Like, how much of a mess can we make?
And I've explored that place, and it's like things get really wavy and messy. Like it's not.
Well, it's not your way, because
it's not my alignment, and
yeah,
it's not your alignment to be super. For me to expect you to be the structured, like systematic.
Even though I feel like living with you, I was telling Mike, I'm like, I feel like I'm living a boot camp, a structure boot camp every day. But also I'm like, wow, like, and I'm still flowing, and I notice it's so helpful. And one of the ways it's helpful is we don't have a lot of the daily bickers that lots of people have, because I know what Mike's up to. He knows what I'm up to, and we know what's expected. Yeah. And if we have any crunch, we're like, okay, what do we need to get clear on here? Yeah. And that's so relieving to not be having those regular crunches that are just about we're not clear with each other about how we're managing the day to day.
Yeah. And then now, because there's been so much communication around it, and exploring and acknowledging and owning and doing regular check-ins to do like acknowledgements of the impact of the thing that's still being developed or is a quirk, and like, oh, that means this. And then holding each other's feelings about that, and not making each other bad and wrong. The benefit that I'd say we've gotten from that is there's more laughter around it. It's like, oh yeah, that's totally my thing. And we can just own it. And it can be a place of joy and a place where we actually connect deeper. And so for all of you listening, this is why it's so important to have the conversation about the messy places, being radically honest, not being afraid to share the thing of how it is impacting you, to get to know what it's about. Because sometimes our partners don't even know. They have a blind spot. They don't even understand that it is impacting other people. And so we want to have that, conversation, put all the cards out on the table, share what it is that's being noticed, not from a place of shaming, but just like, yeah, this is what I've noticed. This is a pattern that happens. Oh, is this working for us? Like the way that this is playing out, like, what do we want to do about it? We want to get the mess on the table, then talk about, this next piece of
get the mess on the table, put it on the table, talk about it, look at it, explore it. Don't just complain about the mess.
Yeah,
talk about it. Become allies.
Yeah.
Become allies.
That does no good for anyone, just complaining about it over and over, because the more we complain about it, the more that becomes a trait. And we want to build those traits of condemning or having contempt around a certain.
And so this brings us into initiative. And this is key, because how do we start to build a life that feels good in the day-to-day? Both people in the couple have to want to show up with initiative to co-create a good day, to co-create a together day where things can flow. And initiative is that life energy, that decision to grow today, that decision to show up for the together space and to move our together vision forward in a good way.
Yeah, it's like really getting to know, once everything's been sorted out, and like, oh my God, these things like really aren't working well. What would make these things work well? What needs to happen? Getting clear on what the pathway is, what the map is, because the more clarity we have in the direction we're going, the more fulfilling it is. We got to know where we're going. So it's like getting to know these places. What would be helpful? What are we going to do? And then now the work becomes, every day I'm going to take initiative to show up in this piece. We're going to, my favorite is we're going to set up a structure around that. Like what we, going back to this piece around the future planning, now we have agreements in place. We can go to the Notion doc and be like, this is the conversation we had about it. This is what Courtney's going to do. She's going to send the text so that it's visible. When it comes to things in the calendar, we're going to sit down together and look at the calendar, and then that can be relied on. The initiative then for me in that place is, oh yeah, like future planning. We have these events. Like, what are some questions I need to ask? What are some things I need to check in about? And starting to build that muscle.
And for me, initiative is literally just that part of me that can choose to show up for the vision. Like, choosing to go that extra mile, choosing to organize that thing or clean that thing or communicate that thing. It's like that place where you're showing up enough. And there's an element of, we need to know we're good enough. But what I mean is, that place where it's like, that's good enough, but it's a little bit like floppy. Like for me, initiative is that place of like, no, I want to show up like a little better than that. Like I want to really, like, how can I help this day feel good for our family, And, that can look like organizing Cedar's toys, or, like the compliments that I send you in the texts, or spending a little bit longer petting the dog. But it's that place of initiative of choosing how I'm meeting that moment and letting myself uphold the structure. And I think when I look at my past self in earlier relationships, like my first marriage, like there was just so much collapse, and I didn't really know that I could choose to show up in that way. Like, I think just lots of the relationships around me, even though my parents have a beautiful relationship in lots of ways, I don't know if it was really from, like, maybe a bit from them, but also just relationships in general, where it's like around me, it wasn't like people are like, I'm really going to show up for my relationship. If anything, I grew up in a family that actually did value that and would say that, but I was around a lot of like, yeah, just the, like kind of accepting, like, this is, just kind of like the bare minimum, maybe. Is that the words?
Yeah.
Well, and the collapsey kind of But it's like there's such a different vibrant energy. Like I remember when I realized, wait, I'm allowed to like give relationship my all and to like every day show up and like put my life energy into creating something really beautiful today, you know? And that's and it's kind of funny because when I asked my earlier self, like, well, why weren't you doing that? She's like, well, because it's not like, but that like it's just not what people do. It's not cool. It's not, no one wants to meet in that. It's almost like that normalized bleh.
Yeah, which what I hear there is our culture. When we think of how most people show up and are conditioned to show up, is I don't know. It's like good enough. Why would we want to do that? Like I remember when I first started to do entrepreneurial ventures. Like, why would you want to go to a retreat? Why would you want to read that book? Like, who cares? Um, and I'd say when I think of the theme of almost every client I've supported, one of the biggest pain points is the dynamic between mom and dad, their mom and dad, and how there wasn't the allyship, there wasn't the connection, there was all this energy of agitation. And I know for me, I remember that in my body, with my parents, and I've watched this when my clients are processing this, there was just this, like when we're talking about initiative, I think of the shadow expression of it. And it's like this agitation of what is happening. It's like, I don't like this. And it can be so easy because we all have this. We all have a negativity bias to slip into this is a problem. But that agitation is victim consciousness. It's like, life is attacking me. This person is attacking me. This is a nuisance to me. But if we move into the gifting of that agitation, if we're agitated, it's the invitation from life, being in a body, being in the densities and the discomforts of just being human, and temperature changes and mosquitoes and traffic. It's like my favorite question to meet agitation is, what can I do about this? Like, what different mindset could I bring in here? What could I do with this energy of agitation that would end up feeling fulfilling? How could I solve this situation rather than being taken down by it? And I think if we approach our relationships in that way of moving into the initiative, like, what can we do about this? Oh, not feeling as close and connected. Initiative says, what can we do to feel more close and connected? Not bitching around all the reasons why we're not. And if you only that, it's like, no, let's shift gears.
Even though sometimes we slide into that a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
But then we pop back out.
Yeah. We go into the together way and we lean into our own cultivated practices that we teach, and we model and we use it. And then it brings us into the juice of right, great, not helpful to sit here and spin out our wheels on the thing that seems to be the problem. Like, how do we want to meet this together? And then what's cool about that is bringing in that energy of initiative always does lead to the more mature relational ingredient behavior that does feel more fulfilling. Then it brings this energy in the relationship of, excitement and, we're doing this together and, we're growing. And, in our couples community, one of the statements that we hear often is couples, once they start to do these practices, follow these certain systems, going from agitation, taking initiative, to being a part of the community, to doing the together way, it leads to the satisfaction of them growing together. And I love getting to experience a couple in that, because that is juicy.
Yeah. Becoming teammates and building a good day-to-day life. And like having fun, co-creating. It feels so good for me that I know that you're executing stuff and getting things done and holding things and moving things forward. And I love that you trust that I'm doing that too.
Oh, I'm so grateful that we understand each other's roles and what is being done so that it can be, going into this next point, appreciated. I love that I can rely on your strengths and the pieces that you hold, coordinating childcare and future plans for events, and like, what a gift, beautifying the home, making sure there's song brought in there when things get too tense, or bringing in some sort of, practice to lighten it. And like, what a gift.
Mm.
And so how important do you think appreciation is when it comes to this place of the day-to-day tasks?
It's everything. It's how we, I mean, I see it as the mystic in me. It's like an energy ball that if we don't feed it, it just pops. But if we start to spin it and add to it and put energy into it, and then like I hand you the ball and you hand me the ball, it grows and grows and grows. And it often feels like then that energy lifts us and makes everything easier. And then if that bubble bursts and there isn't that, everything seems harder. Everything feels like more work. Everything feels a bit crunchy. And I don't know, it's like appreciation alchemy, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, appreciation is such a beautiful dose of enjoyment in the connection. I think it's can be easy to, especially as like time goes on and more responsibilities stack, being parents and entrepreneurs and just life. Life can be a lot. Those little hits of appreciation for me are so valuable. Like and this is what's really cool. It's not just in the receiving of them, it's in the practice of giving them, like building that muscle of what can I appreciate here. And there's been studies on this. Serotonin is released on both sides of that exchange. So you receiving the gift of the appreciation, boom, serotonin hit. The one giving, serotonin hit. And there's another study that was done of like even people observing that exchange and the reciprocity of appreciation, they get a hit of serotonin. So it actually just brings in more life energy, more vitality, and like what a gift. And I'd say when we talked about this journey we've been on, putting all that mess on the table, no one's bad or wrong. It just is what it is. We move into that energy of initiative and we're like, let's sort out this mess. One of the greatest ingredients is this practice of appreciation for, whoa, what is each partner doing? Like it feels so good when you send me a text and you're like, oh my God, thanks so much for what you're providing. Oh, like how you met me. This is my favorite. How you met me in my emotions. I felt so safe, so seen. Like getting an acknowledgement like that and being appreciated for it is so good.
Mm. Yeah, and you know what always find fascinating? I actually love it because it like reveals the mystery of life. I don't know if you've had this experience, but I've had this experience where I'm with someone and like sometimes it's in couples therapy, but sometimes it's just been like couples that I know in life. And the one person in the couple is telling me like kind of how awful their partner is, and they're going on and on about how awful they are. And then you go to their house or you meet their partner and they're like and of course, because I'm not them, I get it. Like when you're in partnership, you're feeling something different. But because I'm on the outside, I'm sitting there going, holy shit, their partner is showing up for a lot, and you're watching and you're like, well, their partner's handling that and they're handling that and they're handling that. Oh my God, and they're handling that. And because I'm not in the dynamic of the relationship, I can see it all, right? And I'm like, I'm sure they're missing you in certain places, but like they're showing up for a lot, right? But how when appreciation gets lost in the relationship, it's almost like we can't even notice the appreciation anymore. It's almost like we become appreciation averse. So then it's wild to watch, right? That person's partner, and I mean, this happens for all of us, but I'm going to tell it in this way. That person's partner is walking around doing all these things in the day, right? But then maybe not meeting them in a certain place they're needing to be met, right? Which is important. But all of that gets wiped out. None of that is seen, and then they're not realizing how much they're getting fed by their partner showing up in that way. But this is the power of, we have to stretch the muscle of appreciation, because literally, like if we want to go back to taking for granted, like being taken for granted, this is literally it, is where we actually forget the appreciation, where we've been with someone for so long, we don't even notice all the pieces they are holding and all the parts of who I get to be because of what this person is holding. And we completely lose sight of it. And the thing that I want to say is we are biologically wired that will happen if we don't intentionally work for the opposite. So we are wired to notice what's wrong, to be selfish, to want more, to, feel dissatisfied without more. And so if we have to intentionally, because of our primal nature, really look at what's actually here and cultivate gratitude and appreciation, or literally we will be taking out our rage on something that's feeding us so much. We've watched this with some of our friends where they're in a partnership and they are, saying all the things that are wrong with it, and then they leave. And I'm not saying it, I think it was the right thing for them to leave. We've watched this with a few people in our life, but then we watch the way that whoa, that partner they left was resourcing them in all these ways. And then watching them have to go through this huge reorganization, because even though there was the pain, there was also the gift.
Yeah, all the beauty. And this is why, this ingredient missing, the appreciation, if we take that out, it's like starving a plant of a certain nutrient of like potassium or nitrogen. Like it needs it to live. And relationally, we need appreciation to go the distance, because we weren't actually biologically designed to be in long-term relationship. We're evolving into it. And this is why there's this podcast. This is why it's such a hot topic in Google searches, is like how to do this well, is we're building it together right now. We are all figuring this out together. And that means we need to push against our biology, or not push against it, but take the initiative and be in right relationship to it, because it is negativity bias. It will look for the problems, and we have to stretch and intentionally build the muscle. This isn't just with our partner. This is with ourselves. What are the things we appreciate about ourselves and how we're showing up, and then spilling that over into the partnership, because those are those little hits of serotonin over time stack up. And that's the gold. That's the resource. That's the thing that cultivates the feeling of together, of belonging, of.
And we're not talking about just doing it right when you're feeling good. Like really the muscle is stretched when you're pissed at your partner, you're tired, you're, all the things, they didn't meet you in this and this way. And then you pull that appreciation out, You pull it out. That is initiative. That's the muscle.
That's it.
That's the muscle.
I love that you spoke to that, because that's the day we say our term here is like dig deep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yep, your thoughts are going to tell you something. Your feelings are going to tell you something. That little kid inside is like, yeah, but my partner did. Yep. We're asking you in those moments to dig deep and find what you appreciate here, because that's what's going to bring the best qualities to relate with. That's the whole irony of it. If I want you to be glowing and radiant and soft, that means I need to feed you with the right ingredients. This is why we sometimes talk about sacred relationship as like the relational garden. I got to know the nutrients that really make you feel good. Appreciate the things that you would want to be appreciated for.
That's the key.
Not what I think you would like to be.
We have different things.
Yeah,
we have different things.
I've tried it. That's been a journey. It's not just appreciating anything. It's like, what does that partner want to be seen in, and what they provide? And
yes. If Mike says, oh, Courtney, I imagine you like worked so hard today and you got a lot done and you executed a lot I'm just like,
womp, womp, womp.
But then if you're like, I just see how you bring so much joy to the people in your life and people feel really met by you, and like these kinds of things, I'm like, oh. Oh,
I love when thank you so much for tending the relational space of our home.
Yeah.
And even yesterday, what was it like? Oh, thanks for all the beauty you bring in the home. Like, oh, thanks.
Yeah. But then it's funny. You'll come to me like what you want. You're like, yeah, thanks for executing so many things. And like, you just do so much in a day. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I do. But that's just, it's like not the thing. It's not the thing for me. But you need to be seen in what you're providing.
Oh, yeah.
like practical details that it took me a while to figure that out. Like, oh, I got to actually say, I love the faucet you bought. I love this faucet looks like this. I love that you thought of it. I love that, like, I got to get in there. Yeah.
And I'd say with every man that I work with in my 6-month container, it's the same quality. So far, the evidence is across the board. Men really love to be appreciated for what they provide. Double down on that one. Double down on it. And guess what? They'll want to provide even more because it's so delicious. It feels so good. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now the bonus. How we make this all work. This whole journey we've been on has been a process for us to figure out. And there's been a place where we've needed to create structure to even put it all in right order. You know, one of my favorites, I'll speak to the ones that I really appreciate, and then I'd love to hear from you. For me, I love a program called Notion, and no, there's no affiliate link. I just love Notion because we can set up our whole life with all the different categories, vacation, relational agreements, all in one hub, and things can be logged and put in their place. The roles are clear, plans can go in there, and then it makes things really clear, and it also frees up the mental bandwidth of having to remember it all.
I really like our 15-minute cuddle time.
Yeah, me too.
I really like our time in the morning after family cuddle time where we kind of hash out what the day is going to look like so that I know what you're doing, what I'm doing, who's handling what. I really love our ritual of like our morning routines and how we have our morning routines. I really love at night how we sort of have this way of who we know who's going to put Cedar to bed. Recently, Mike's putting Cedar to bed a little more. And I love how we basically structure and hash out like, okay, like even, you know, you were going to put him to bed another night a week. What does that look like? Am I involved at all? Can I be involved? Do I come in sometimes and not? Like, what would that look like? And we had to really hash the clarity. Okay, when he goes to brush his teeth, then you'll come check in with me, and just really getting clear on the niggly, all the little details. Yeah.
So important.
Yeah.
I love that our life is scheduled, that the places where we want to prioritize the intimacy and the connection show up in temple nights on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, that you have your women's temple, I have my men's work. And I really love, part of what I'd say really makes this all work is we have this ongoing agreement that when things don't feel good, we're going to talk about it. We have the uncomfortable conversation. We don't bury it down. You're like, hey, this isn't feeling good. Let's check that out. Let's talk about it. When, and then getting really to the point, like when can we talk about this and sort it out? Because we're constantly growing and changing. The needs change, the environment changes. And so I love that we have an ongoing check-in about that.
Me too.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you all for tuning into this. This is a really juice and ripe one. Ripey.
It's
Rappy. It's rappy in here. Super juicy. And we want to hear from you. Like, what does this stir up? We want to know, like, what are the thoughts that come up? What are the insights or the ahas? Go down whatever platform you're listening or watching this on. Go down into the comments. Let us know. I read every one of those comments. I'm going to respond to them. And if you got value out of this, please do us a favor so that this can reach more people. Go hit the 5-star, you know, if you're on YouTube, hit the bell, hit the like, hit subscribe, and tune in for more of this relational goodness.
And, you know, we our couples community, our Together Couples community, online community, just wanting to just really tune you guys into this a little more. It's a beautiful gathering of other couples who, what they're desiring is they're listening to this content, they're listening to these themes, and everything in their heart is like, yes, I want that. And yet they don't quite know how to put it into practice. They don't quite know how to structure the time. There's places that get kind of sticky, or it's hard to find the space for them to really drop in and do practices. Or, there's places that they're not clear on what's needed. And in this way, they show up in the community and they're held and they get to feel and see how other couples are finding their way. It actually is a time where you practice together in the container. So if all you did was just show up for the calls, you'll transform through those calls. We're watching couples, a couple that's been in there for a year, our first year, huge shifts, embodying it beautifully, so connected. And it's just through really like showing up in the calls and getting the downloads, and just showing up in that space is really going to deepen you. And what's unique about the Together community is that you're actually getting to be there with a couple that's practicing this not only in real life, right? The two of us, Mike and I, but we also work with couples. So we get both vantage points. We have the professional lens of inside working with couples and seeing the themes and the patterns and what helps, and also the lived daily experience that we're in the practice, in the moment, in the community, and you're getting that download. And that, what that one couple is, they said, no one's doing that in this way. And so this is kind of what you get from our shared experience and what we want to offer you in the community.
And this is why we're doing it, because no one was doing it and we needed it for ourselves. And so we created it, and it's been such a gift to watch couples completely transform. Like, it's revolutionary. How more connected and vibrant and alive and inspired.
Grounded.
Beautiful. See you in the next one.